Let me I think I'm gonna read from like the Ghost Stories Reddit today. If not, then I'll pop open like, hi Caitlin, how are you doing? Apparently people are doing, there's like a thread of like the best ghost stories of 2022. I do live in LA. Yes, I'm LA based. Okay. Let's see. Well, I think I voted for that one, so I might have read that story already. All right. My twin and I's creepy story. How much is my rent? So I bought a house, and a house is usually cheaper than renting out. So I will say that. When in doubt, my biggest advice, one of the biggest life advices I could give anybody, if you're 20 and you're building your credit and you're thinking about like buying like a nice vehicle or anything, don't. I would really recommend getting a condo. Get a condo, invest in property rather than a car. That was my biggest mistake. So for context, 20-year-old Stephanie or 23-year-old Stephanie got a vehicle rather than get a house, and one of my coworkers got a townhome with one of her, like, I think it was a cousin of hers, and then now they have like a really nice house and she invested in all of this. Okay, so we're gonna get into like the scary. Yeah, definitely if you need a car, I mean, reassess, right? Everything's relative. I would say I bought a used vehicle. I didn't buy anything new for the longest time ever. So there's that as well. I am the scary story chick. Okay, my twin and I's creepy story. There was this one time several years ago, my identical twin and I were about 11 or 12, and we had one of our first real creepy experiences together. I didn't think much of it until today when we both talked about it because it was so creepy to both of us. We are almost 21 years old today. So my twin and I were born and raised in his house built in the mid-1800s, and we actually still live there now. It used to be like a mini hospital, and our garage actually used to be an old school house in the early 1900s. It even still has like the furnace in the classroom and the teacher's office and living area. And usually you would think a house built that long ago with history would be as haunted, of course. But honestly, we never really got that vibe. It felt constantly creepy, but nothing obviously paranormal happened around that time. I think as kids, we really wanted the house to be haunted because it felt like it should be. It had an upstairs, an extremely creepy unfinished basement with a root cellar and tons of little cubbies and little doors leading to like this Coraline crawl space area. But despite all of that, it wasn't actually too bad. We just loved to creep ourselves out. Anyway, we were in the dining room, and if you can imagine it, right off the dining room was the kitchen. And from the dining room into the kitchen, you can see the laundry room door in the kitchen. And the laundry room door also led to the basement. The door from the dining room into the kitchen was open, but the laundry room door was closed, and we could see that from where we were sitting was a dining room table. And at that moment, we were drawing and doing some homework, and our parents weren't home. I remember Human by Christina Perry was playing. I can still listen to it. I can't even listen to it anymore. From the living room TV. We hadn't known this until we talked about it just recently, but we both had been kind of looking at the door a lot. We felt like we couldn't keep our eyes off it for too long. And this was strange because we never really been scared of that door during the day. And this was during the day, of course. And especially when it was closed because it wasn't creepy. We were only scared of it at night. But we both had been eyeballing the door, but hadn't seen anything to each other, or hadn't said anything to each other, or noticed the other one doing the same exact thing. And I remember thinking, wouldn't it be creepy if I looked up and the door was open? And I looked up and the door was open. This particular door makes a lot of noise when it opens, and we heard absolutely nothing, but it was wide open. My twin also had apparently looked up from the drawing and saw it too. We both hadn't even said anything or looked at each other. Didn't skip a single beat, and we both ran outside. I remember feeling this horrible, terrifying feeling for the first time, like a tingling thing in my scalp and my heart, all throughout my arms too. It felt even scarier that it wasn't just me. My twin saw it too, and I was scared shitless. And we didn't stop running until we were a little ways down the road away from the house. We even left the front door open. And what happened may seem kind of silly to someone else, but my twin and I have always had this really strange connection. Honestly, most twins do, I think. We didn't even have to speak to each other. We just knew that what the other person was thinking and feeling. And that moment really felt significant because who gets scared of an open door? I almost feel like it was some kind of sixth sense, or it might have just been something that we both felt at the same time, whatever it was. And it seemed like every significant creepy experience we had in that house was when we were both together. I might add, no one opened the door, no one came home, and there was no wind. It wasn't really possible in a house with no steady moving air either. I don't know. I felt like the story was worth telling, and maybe someone has a similar story or have something to say about it. Ooh, that was actually really good. That was really good. Yeah, I liked it. And then, yeah, so this is called My Twin and I Creepy Story by Anyways with 3 A's on Reddit. So there's that. Oh gosh, did I ever tell you guys about the crazy experience I had in my house? I don't know, that's a good one. I love lobster, but I can't have it enough because it's so expensive, you know? But I think this like reminds me of I know I've mentioned this story a few times on here, but it reminds me of like my creepy experience when I lived in Minnesota. Like my sister and I both had a very eerily experience, and then we like revisited as adults and found out more details on the story. And had we not revisited that story, I would have walked away thinking it was just like whatever, but that's what makes it really creepy, right? Okay. Let's see what other story there was. So I click on that one. Let's see what this one is. That one already. Okay. So this one's called The Time I Saw My Dad Talking to a Ghost or Entity. So this is from like the ghost Reddit thread, Ghost Stories. It's called, from the user Mystic Moon 551996. This happened when I was about 15 in a little town called St. Helens, just outside Portland, Oregon. And at the time, our family was going through some really tough obstacles. My dad had been acting very strange, talking to himself, and not acting as he normally did for a couple of days. His personality would change quite often around this time. At the time, he was not diagnosed with schizophrenia, but we were trying to get him help. So leading up to the night, I had seen this thing with this conversation with my dad. I had also experienced very strange dreams, and I felt like I had been sat on by someone very heavy. I looked and no one was there. My brother had seen something he called the garbage man on numerous occasions. He said it looked like a bag was over his head and was being sucked into his mouth and eye sockets. It leaned over him and appeared to be very tall. This thing visited him a few times. It was about 2 a.m. and I heard my dad talking to someone or himself. At this point, I had a routine of going and talking with him to calm him down. My bedroom had been right next to the kitchen and the bathroom because it was a very small house. I walked into the kitchen, which had been slightly lit by the outside lights, and the first thing I see is a very tall shadow figure in the doorway of the bathroom, and my dad standing toe-to-toe with this massive thing. He's mumbling something, and he says loudly, "Leave me alone." I was terrified, so I ran back into the bedroom. My dad's mental state took a turn. It was a struggle for my family to get him help. Eventually, things escalated, and my dad was considered a danger to himself and others and was able to get the help he deserved. They did not find drugs in his system and eventually diagnosed him with schizophrenia. I don't know why he saw this thing or what it was. I think it was preying on my dad's weakness. And so, like, the question is, can people with mental illness see past the curtains? Since this day, that question runs through my head a lot. Oh, that's scary. Oh my God. Oh my God. Like, imagine you're like waking up and you see a shadow person and like someone you love just like going head to toe. Yeah, I believe in that too, to be honest. I've had some crazy people close to me tell me their personal experiences, and it's kind of hard to shake off. Okay, let's see. Where is this other one? Quick Little Story. So this one is called Quick Little Story, and it is on the Ghost Reddit thread. The user is Knight75. So to begin with, I have lost both of my parents and miss them very dearly. We were a close family, and there's not a day that goes by without me thinking of them. This year on my birthday, I was watching Ghostbusters Afterlife by myself in the evening after the party had ended with my friends and they all left. The part where the spirit of Egon plays chess with his grandmother came on, where chess pieces are moving by themselves, and half jokingly, I said out loud, "How come you can't do something cool like that, Mom or Dad?" No sooner than I said that, a single balloon came unattached from where it was taped on the wall and fell to the ground. Not only that, but it was a green one, my favorite color since I was a kid. Guess my folks showed me that night. We're doing scary stories, and yes, this doll, she has a personality for sure. Okay, so what's funny though is that's not the haunted doll. The haunted doll is actually over here somewhere. All right, so this one is called My Grandpa. It is from the user Gwenna Day from the Ghost Stories Reddit. So this one is called, yeah, so I already said that. So my grandpa on my mom's side died about 6 to 7 years ago. He's always stuck around, usually can identify him by the smell of cigarettes or TV channels changing suddenly on their own. Just last week, my grandma remarried. It was awesome, everyone is happy for her. At the wedding, I sat near the back so that my kiddos didn't interrupt the ceremony, and there was a minute there where I felt my grandpa. When my grandma came out of the changing room in her wedding gown, this overwhelming feeling of happiness and sadness filled me. And I could feel him standing right behind me. I bawled my eyes out. She was beautiful, and I think he thought the same thing too. She had asked my mom months ago if it was okay for her to move on, and I think that confirmed it. He just wants her to be happy. I just want to share this experience, even though it wasn't as spooky, just sweet and emotional. Aww. Well, the thing about that, I would be scared. What if that's not my parents, you know? Yeah, I think that's always like a scary thing where like people are not themselves. Okay. Let's see. So we read that one. I've been trying to like all the ones I read so I don't reread them again. Okay, so I think these are good ones. Like these are, I love this. And if you guys want to read it, like if you go to Reddit, just go to like the Ghost Stories. They're doing like a best of 2022. Okay. Okay, there's another one. I'm gonna get some water though. Do you mind waiting for me while I go get water? I'm gonna get some water. And yes, I do believe in paranormal things. I'm a paranormal investigator. I've been on the CW, and I am also a psychic medium. So yes, I believe in paranormal things. All right, I'll be right back, guys. I really needed that water. Cool. Thank you, Mystic, for waiting for me. All right, so this is called a cool investigation. Same thread. The user is realist hater. Okay, so I was called by a lady who swore that her cat was possessed. I was incredibly skeptical, but also very curious. According to the lady, her cat would suddenly start screaming at the top of its lungs. It would do this crazy looking slow motion walk while tilting its head at weird angles. If she tried to approach it when it did these things, it would lash out on her with its claws. After having one of these spells, it would hide out, but not relax. Its tail would swing wildly and it would growl to itself for almost an hour. As strange as all of this sounded, I spoke to one of the team members who was also very sensitive. Catch my breath. After hearing the story, she insisted that we should investigate. We arrived at the residence at around 4:30. The lady gave us a tour of the house and introduced us to the cat. It was a very standard ranch-style home, and we found nothing creepy about it. The cat was cool, very affectionate, and really took to my fellow investigator. She spent a couple of hours alone with the cat while I got paperwork and formalities done with the lady, the owner. She invited us to investigate the home that night as she had a date. That worked out for us because we were there from 11 to 7 a.m. So she left for her date around 7:30 and we began our formal investigation. We moved room to room asking questions in hope for an EVP or a knock for a question. We had no activity until 11:30, and that's when the cat started screaming in the master bedroom. Upon entering... Give me 1 second. This went down. Upon entering the doorway, my partner grabbed my shoulder, stopping me in motion, finger to lip for me to be quiet and silent, and just listen. It was hard with the cat screams. They made my hair stand on my end. As we watched and listened, a shadow began to form in the corner of the room. There was a whisper coming from the shadow that was not recorded by our DVRs, and we could not understand what it was saying. The cat was irate. It was scared and ready to fight, so we witnessed the claims of the lady firsthand, and they were exactly as she had described them. My partner spoke very calmly to the shadow, saying, "You are scaring the cats. I don't think you mean to do it, so if you leave this room and go into the bedroom across the hall, we will help you." We turned and entered the smaller bedroom and sat quietly on the bed, waiting to see what would happen. A few moments later, my partner grabbed my arm and pointed at the doorway. Into the spare bedroom, it was shared by 2 smaller bedrooms. I could clearly see a humanoid shape with no features, but it was blacker than the darkness around it. This teammate and I had worked together many times and had a routine that we followed. I told the entity that everything was okay. The cat's calm now, and we want to know how we can help. It slowly moved to the doorway, slightly into the room. At that point, I heard through my DVR the word kitty. While recording, I always plug in an earpiece so I can hear what is being recorded in real time. I asked if it was trying to pet the kitty, and it stretched out its arm, pointing towards the master bedroom where the cat was. I asked if it wanted to hurt the kitty, and almost immediately heard a sigh and whimper. I asked again if it wanted to hurt the kitty, and stated that in order for us to help it, we need an answer. My partner told me a minute later that it answered. She sensed that it indicated that it only wanted to pet the cat. She also sensed that this was a spirit of an adolescent child. It was a male, and she thought that in life he has some type of development issue. While we spoke to the entity, it seemed to sway slightly back and forth, but it didn't go anywhere. It seemed that it was listening to our conversation. I once again spoke to it, saying that it had scared the cat, and if it wanted to pet it, that it would have to make friends with it. I explained that it would just need to sit still and speak to the cats. Oh my God, I thought something moving here. A moment later, the cat appeared in the hallway and sat down calmly. No one spoke or moved, including the spirit. A few moments later, the cat joined us on the bed. I spoke to it calmly, and my partner scratched its neck and head. I looked back up from the cat at the spirit, and I noticed that the spirit was gone. We experienced nothing else at night and locked up the house and left. 2 days later, my teammate called me very excited. She had researched the property and found that a young man who had Down syndrome had died on the property when he had fallen out of a treehouse. We gathered our evidence and met the lady the following day. I played her all of the recordings of us talking to the spirit so that she would understand what exactly had happened. When she heard me tell the spirit how to make friends with the cat, she began to cry. She told us that only morning was that when the cat. Sorry, let me reword that. She told us that only that morning the cat was on the bed in a smaller bedroom. It was purring very loudly and moving its head like someone was scratching it. Oh my God. Oh my God. That actually got me in my feels. Oh my gosh. Oh, that is so sweet. And they're like very calm too. Like, I don't know about you guys, but like I've watched like not ghost adventures. Well, yeah. I watch like paranormal ghost shows where like they instigate spirits and then you just never know. And that was one thing that I've always like preached to people. It's like if you go to like a haunted location, like understand that that's also their space. You know what I mean? Like you don't go into a bar starting a fight, you know? That's how I feel. Like spirits are like us without the meat suit. Oh, thank you. Thank you, DJ. Thank you. So sweet of you. But, oh my God, that gave me chills. Oh my gosh. Does anyone have any New Year plans? I don't know what I'm going to do for New Year's. Yes, that instigating just like irritates me so much. I will not do anything like that with people. Okay. So this one is also on the Ghost Stories Reddit thread, and it's called, the user's called Fox Wolf Tale. This one says, a few stories about a friendly ghost named Dave. Have you heard about the flying creature that attacks pregnant women? Is that a Filipino folklore? Oh no, it's New Zealand. No, I haven't heard of that one, but I can look into it. Oh, thanks. That's fun. Readings on a live. Okay. So this is this is what they're saying. Posted this first and asked Reddit a long time ago and figured that this would be a good place to share a few encounters with a ghost. Not a mean-spirited one, but rather a more polite ghost who usually refers to himself as Dave. Never saw him ever, but the best way to describe his voice is elderly, hardcore smoker answering you from another room. His voice is always muffled, but rough and coarse. Here are a few stories with Dave, edited for some clarification. So the first time I ever actually heard Dave was when I was 9. I was in the living room reading a Batman comic book. I heard Dave asking me if Batman was fighting the Joker. I mindlessly just answered, yeah, you can read this when I'm done. And I took my young brain, my young brain a minute before realizing that there was no one else in the house with me to ask that at that time. Ooh. My mom once told me she was taking the laundry into her room when she suddenly bumped into something large and invisible, making her fall backwards with the laundry. She then heard Dave exclaim, "Oh, I'm sorry, are you okay?" My mom saw no one, but she did felt like there was someone helping her get up, as also pointing out to her where the falling clothing had gone. In my lifetime, we had about 7 cats who had lived with us. Every now and then, I will see one of them rolling over and enjoying someone petting them, which no one is there. No one could ever get it on camera either. In high school, I got a few friends to bring out a Ouija board to my house in hopes to talk to Dave. Before we could even begin, the little triangle thing that comes with the board vanished without a trace. Me and my friends were confused until we heard Dave say in a rough voice, No, this is not the time. There is someone outside that you do not want to invite inside. Me and my friends just sat there in silence, and then we put the board away, only taking it out to burn it a few months later after summer camp. Ooh, that one gave me chills. That one gave me chills. Only once did I ask only once did I ask why Dave hunts our house. His response to this question was him knocking on the walls, leading me to the bedroom door. I opened it up, looked inside, and felt him push me into the room and close the door on me. He sent me to my room for asking him such a personal question, and I have never brought it up since then. There hasn't been much activity of him since 2014, and my parents, who still live there, think he has moved on. He was a great ghost, and I do hope he's in a better place now. Oof. At least he's polite. Unless you ask him a personal question. That's funny. Oh my goodness. And okay, so we'll leave that one. I'm just trying to close all these out so I can get to the next story. These are good. I'm actually like enjoying this thread. At least he's polite. Okay, so this one is called, well, the user is bed_zest close. And the title is called Sleep Paralysis or Paranormal Activity. I think I read that one, the one about Dear John. I wouldn't be able to sleep. I know, I think especially if you like bump into something invisible. I don't know about that, man. I don't know. Sleep paralysis or paranormal activity. Last night I was having trouble getting to sleep. At around 2 a.m., I sensed someone outside my bedroom door. I turned my head to look and saw a tall shadow figure standing in the shadows of the darkness. The figure then spoke to me very clearly in the voice of the next door neighbor and asked, "Oh my God, did I see something?" I'm not joking, I thought I saw something here. Or am I scaring myself? I'm not even joking. I thought I saw something here. I'm like, it's my cat. And there's nothing here. Okay, please don't mess with me, spirits. I've seen something similar to a Fresno nightcrawler in New Zealand. What? That's creepy. If you guys ever want to share anything with me, Instagram, I also have my email, my bio, whatever's easy. I always like hearing people's like stories. It's really cool. Okay, that was creepy though. I thought I saw something. I'm not even joking. Maybe I'm just psyching myself out. Let me read that. Okay, so the figure then spoke to me very clearly in the voice of my next door neighbor and asked, "Do you have any tobacco?" I was half asleep and confused and angry. So rudely, I replied, "No, I effing don't." And the figure silently moved away. A second later, I hear the front wooden door open and close. I feel like I keep seeing something in the corner of my eye. Yeah. That's so funny. Well, you know what's interesting? So for context, I'm always like high alert with this house. This house, me and my husband bought it from a 97-year-old lady, widowed lady at the top of that. And when we did like a walk through this house, I felt like oh, I'm glad you like it. I'm sorry, I don't mean to make you paranoid. But okay, so for context, this house belonged to a 97-year-old lady. And yeah, there's nothing to be afraid of. And anyway, so there's okay, so she's widowed. We're doing a tour. So this house, they did not do private viewings for this house. It was all like one day open house. I think they did a second day, but like I think within 2 days, there were so many offers in this house. And anyway, we're walking in the house, and I don't know where I feel like the presence of a man. And it just gets really weird because we get to like the very last room, which is all the way in the back of the house, which is where me and my husband, that's like our bedroom now. But at the time we get to that room, and in the corner, like you have to like really look. Because the lady had all these like all these cute little like memorabilia of her grandkids and her children and everything. So you really got to see like the timeline of the house. But in the corner, there was like this little like memorabilia of like her husband, like in memory of like loving dad. And I'm like, oh my God. And I never really asked much about the man, like her ex-husband, like, you know, her deceased husband. And then I move into this house, and about 3 months later, I'm meeting the neighbors. Like, I actually have a lot of nice neighbors. Like, this is probably one of the nicest neighborhood I've ever moved into. And she told me that like the husband passed away, like he did like a marathon, and I guess like that just like really did something to his heart. I don't know. And he came back from his trip from like this marathon and passed away about like 7 years ago. Anyway, so I'm always like, okay, I'm always just like on high alert, because again, the lady's like 97, and then like this man, you know, I feel like this man is in this house once in a while. And yes, I get very sweet, like protective energy for sure. Which is why I'm kind of like, okay, I don't mean to be jumpy with him, but also I'm paranoid that like the woman's going to come back into this house and visit it if she ever passes away. Anyway, don't mean to get morbid on that, but that's the story on this house. Okay. So if we can ever get past the story without me like not seeing something, seriously. All right, so I was half asleep and confused and angry, so I replied, no, I effing don't. And the figure suddenly moved away a second later, and I hear the front wooden door open and close. But no screen door or my neighbor's doors. We live in a semi-detached unit, so our doors are very close. They're about like 8 meters, and we are very good friends. He often comes and pets. Yeah, he often pets and house sits for me, but he has never just let himself in when I'm home. I lay in bed angry for a bit. Then, as I usually yeah, my mouse is moving. My little cursor is moving by itself. I lay in bed angry for a bit. Then, as I fully wake up, and there we go again, seeing something. I literally think I'm seeing something. I would not doubt that for a second. I also like, so the doll behind me, I have seen an apparition, and like, even though I know not to be scared, it does take me like into like a surprise shock. But before we get to that story, the doll behind me, we used this doll for like a video that we did for BuzzFeed Unsolved, and this doll was a huge learning curve for me. But basically they say that there's like a 76-year-old man attached to this doll. It's like a Civil War soldier. But yeah, I don't know. There's also that. Oh my goodness. Yeah. Portals are creepy. They're not creepy, but they always take me back. Like, ugh. Okay. So the apparition story. So in 2015, yes, 2015, I went to go do my taxes. This lady's like, she has a small business. So I'm like, oh, I'll support her small business. And so I went, and I was sitting down waiting for my taxes to get done. And well, for my turn to do my taxes. And anyway, so I'm sitting there just hanging out by myself. I'm like on the computer, do my thing. You're smelling gunpowder. Well, there you go. And anyway, so I was sitting there, and I'm just like minding my own business. I'm on the computer, and I don't know where I like jump, because I saw this like tall black woman, and she's wearing like this like certain designs on her dress. It was like an off-white color, and there was like designs with like the beads. And I was like, wait, what? And I like took back, and there's no one there. I'm like, oh God. But the daughter, who was like in the front waiting with me, like she was doing admin stuff, she saw me like jump, because that was actually like the first time, I have to say, I've ever seen an actual like anything like that, if that makes sense. So then like she's like, are you okay? And then I'm like, no, I thought I saw it. And I start describing the woman, and she's like, wait, you need to talk to my mom. Like, no, you need to talk to my mom now. I'm like, wait, you're scaring me, what's happening? So she takes me to the mom, who's like the owner of the place. She's the one that does the taxes, and apparently like the back of the store is closed off. It's actually like a private like, she does cleansing, she does like santeria, She does like all these things, and she does like, I think she's mixed. Like she has like her Mexican side, and then she also has like her African, I forgot what it's called. But anyway, so she tells the mom. The mom's like, oh my god, oh my god. So she's like, you have to come with me. And I'm like going to the back of the store, and we get to like the corner of the back, and there's like these dividers, like a, you know, like wall, like little dividers, like as if you have to change, you know, like if you were to change behind a divider. And so the corner there, we go behind the little divider, and there's this doll. I saw the spirit. I saw the doll version of that, if that makes sense. Like what I saw, but the doll. And she said, this is my doll. It's an ancestral doll. And I actually work with her to like with magic and all this stuff. And she likes you. And so she showed herself to you. She never really does that. And so like the lady's like, yeah, so you have permission to take a picture of this doll. So I have a picture, but the condition is that I'm not supposed to show anybody that picture. So it's like hidden away in a very private place. Like not even my husband has seen that picture. No one's supposed to see that picture. And I keep hearing older men to ask you to remind the water the plants. Oh, thank you. Okay, I'm glad you said that because so we have a gardener here. So when we first moved into the house, so that was one of the most beautiful things about this house. So even though the house hasn't been remodeled since like, I don't even know, the 70s, that was one of the most astonishing things about this house was like how immaculate the grass was. It was like the garden here is so like spot on. And you look at the rest of the houses in the neighborhood, they have like decent yards, but like ours, like the house here had like such a, like the green, I'm not even joking, like the greenest grass ever. And so like that was one of the things that like made this house just look so adorable, even though like it's not as new-ish or remodeled as like the other houses on the lot. And so anyway, the gardener has been with this family for like 15 years. And that was one of like, when we moved into the house, I remember that like the house had not been lived in for like a month or two or something like that. And the grass still looked immaculate. So basically like the lady that lived here before, she paid 2 months in advance to basically make sure that the gardener was still coming to the house and taking care of the garden. So that's funny that you're saying that because that's how like they're very into like just in general, the gardener. So that was one of the things I remember when we got to this house, moved in, like 6 a.m. I'm hearing someone like mow the lawn, and I like wake up and I'm seeing these gardeners, and I walk outside. I'm like, hey, wait a minute, what's happening? And I decided to keep him, like the gardener, just because he was with this family for such a long time. So I figured like, hey, like I'm not much of a gardener person. I don't know anything about that. I'm learning. I'm a second time owning a house, and our first house had like no yard. So for me, this is like overwhelming. So that's so funny that you're saying that. That's really cool. But yeah, thank you. This is a YouTube sweater. Thank you. I was indecisive about the colors. Do I smell? I don't smell aftershave randomly. I don't think I smell much of that, but who knows? Maybe my mom smells things. Hello. Yeah, so that's interesting that you picked that up. But yeah, that guy, and also like the garage is so his energy too. He built like he hand built like these cabinets and like made the garage is like a very unique garage. If you smell aftershave, it could be the aftershave goblin. Sorry, I didn't mean to get sidetracked, but every time I keep reading the story, I keep seeing things. But now the cat's here, so. I've been seeing that on TikTok, the whistle phenomenon. Like if you hear whistling, don't respond to it. I have heard of La Pascualita in Mexico. I have heard of that story. And I've been debating about doing it, but I feel like there's just so many stories on TikTok already about it. So I'm like, I don't know if I want to do that one. The ghost cat calling you. So I never had like a spirit whistle or anything like that. But this goes back to like an earlier story I kind of touched based on earlier, where my sister and I were living in Minnesota, and there was a house that we lived in, and we were sharing a bedroom. And this is before, apparently, night crawlers whistle to communicate to each other. Oh, interesting. Thank you, Min Min. Yeah, I know. I think you're... But we were living in this house in Minnesota, and my sister and I were... my sister was getting ready to, like, clean this closet out. She was, like, on this, like, mission to clean the closet out. I was getting ready to go to bed. This is, like, back in, like, the 90s, late 90s. We didn't have cell phones. My dad... We were on a tight budget. We did not have like a recorder or anything like that. And so we had the window open because, again, budget. So we didn't have like the air conditioning running or anything like that. And so here I am getting ready to go to bed. So I have two sisters. I hear my sister that's not in the house. She's working 30, 45 minutes away at a Chuck E. Cheese at the time. Call my name 3 times, like as if she's like in despair, like something urgent's happening. Outside the window. We look outside the window. No one is there. Both me and my sister heard it. We both heard her. We both looked at each other when we heard the sister that wasn't there. And when I looked at my sister who was in the closet, I said, "Is that our sister?" Yeah, there's nothing to fear when it comes to spirits. Totally. So when we were looking out there, though, again, no one was there. We went outside. We went to the garage. Her car was nowhere in sight. I was a kid, so I started panicking. I'm like, "Hey, you're playing a prank on me. I don't like this." My sister's like, "I'm not playing a prank on you." Plus, like, that's not really my sister's personality either. Like, my older sister's a lot more of a serious person. So then, like, but I'm over here, like, literally having, like, a panic attack. So we call my sister who's not there. We call her job because, again, no cell phones. So we call her job. Her boss answers. We're like, "Hey, can we speak to her?" He's like, "Well, is this like a family emergency?" I'm like, "Yes," because I'm like I'm so distraught. They hand the phone over to her, my sister. She's in the bathroom cleaning and getting ready to leave. They're closed for the night. That was the weirdest thing ever. Fast forward, my sister and I revisit the story. It turns out that while I heard my name being called, she heard her name. So like whatever was mimicking my sister's voice that wasn't there, it was using like one of each other's names to draw our attention to the window. And again, you can chalk it up to like prank, but like why would someone play a prank and hold on to this for that long, you know? Yeah, I mean, I don't know. I feel like sometimes, so here's a take. I've heard 2 different takes on the theory of like why we heard my sister. And one of them is this. Yeah, I mean, there could be a prankster. The other theory I've heard, though, is... So I had a lady who was my mentor. She was one of my mentors who got me into, like, the whole intuition side of things and all of that. She believes that the reason why this happened is that there was a spirit or somebody who was looking out for my sister that day and wanted us to buy out her time, like, buy some time so she wouldn't leave her job and maybe get into, like, a car accident or something dangerous. That could have been a thing. Who knows? I don't know. But then I've also heard like the other take of like, it's probably just like a spirit playing pranks on you guys and trying to get your attention. Oh my God. I'm not the best with that. The trivia with like guess the line. Because I'm like just so bad with names. Yeah, I mean, if you ever want to share any of your experience, feel free to like message me. Or you can share them on here. You can email me, whatever you feel comfortable. So we're not going to read the story because every time I read the story, I keep saying things. So we're just going to move on to the next story. These Pringles are so addictive. Oh, I'm good. But maybe other people might play with you in here. So if you want to, you can see if anyone responds. I won't be as fun, I promise, because I'm not good with like names. See, I feel like I have a calling to automatic sketching, and I've been wanting to try that out more. Because I feel like that's where like I'm the most like in present meditative state when I'm drawing. Okay, so this one's called Don't Open That Door. Let me like compose myself. So the reason why I stopped reading the stories was because I thought I kept seeing something. That's happened a few times where like I'm reading certain stories and then I think I'll see something, but yeah. I think it was trying to get my sister's attention to call my sister. But again, like that's a good question. Who knows? CSM Restaurants, customer service manager. Don't open the door. Okay. So this one is from Juiceby Danger. That's their username. Okay. Here's a little background context. So this past Thanksgiving was really hard for my family. It was the first Thanksgiving without my biological grandmother. I called her Nana. Her life partner, my other grandmother, who I called Nani. So now that I got that out of the way, so on Thanksgiving night, my Nani and my half-brother were sitting in the living room reminiscing on past Thanksgivings we spent with Nana when we heard something fall in the master bedroom. Nani had closed the door to keep the dogs out of there so no one or nothing was in there. We brushed it off and decided to put on a movie, and we're watching it when we heard voices coming from the room. Were we not just talking about this, you guys? We paused the movie to listen, but couldn't make it out or what it was saying. We assumed it was just the neighbors, and we were about to continue the movie when we heard a voice call out for Nani in Nana's voice, only it wasn't her. Guys, we were just talking about this. Anyway, we all knew it. Again, she called out this time for me this time, and then the tone of her voice was urgent, like she was hurting, as in like, help me. We heard her cry. My older brother, who's never really encountered, nor does he care for supernatural things, was shaking. He tried to get up when Nani shouted, something she's never done before. Don't open that door, she yells. Again, we heard Nana crying while pounding on the door. This was at 11:52 p.m. and it was quiet. That was the time she had died. Until this day, we haven't spoken what happened. Oops, there we go. Nani had me sage the entire house for the rest of the night. Oh, happened. Oops, there we go. Nani had me sage the entire house for the rest of the night. Oh, happened. Oops, there we go. Nani had me sage the entire house for the rest of the night. Oh, what are the coincidences on that? We were just talking about this. Oh my god. Anyway. Sorry. Thank you for the likes. Oh, thank you guys. Seriously, thank you. Okay. Yeah, divine timing for real. Hey, Mimin, no. Mimin, no. Okay, we're not reading that story because every time I try to read it. I think this is the last one on the thread. Okay, that was the last one. All right, guys, I think I'm going to call it a night because my phone is about to die. But this was so much fun. Thank you guys for joining me. And yeah, I want to see your live, Mystic Beauty. Cool. Okay, have a good rest of your night, guys. And if I don't get to talk to you by like New Year's, Happy New Year's. Hope you guys are gonna do any traditions, manifesting, getting set for the new year. All right, bye guys. Traditions, manifesting, getting set for the new